The way I got started writing was in elementary school. We had a contest to see who could write the best short story. Whoever wrote the best short story, we're going to have the story read over the PA system. I did not win the contest, but I've been writing ever since. The kind of people that are attracted to my writing are generally, well, for the most part, people who grew up during my generation, grew up in the 60s and the 70s. But my readership extends to high schoolers, of course college, and on up. Just people who enjoy stories with a twist, because most everything I write has a twist to it. Well, the way I write, my style, if you will, I take the reader along with me. You start reading the story, and before you know it, it's like you're there. The events are happening to you, the reader. For most part, when I'm writing a story, I'm actually addressing the reader, and it's just like I'm sitting there telling you, relating everything that's going on. You'll be going along, and you think you know what's happening, and then you get near the end, and bam, there's a twist. I'll take you way out to left field somewhere, and leave you there. My books, I've written 3 so far. The first one was a collection of short stories called Dark Waters. The second is actually it's book 1 of a sci-fi fantasy trilogy called China in Time, where the main character goes back into his own timeline to redo an event that happened back in the 70s. The third story is an anthology. It's a collection of short stories, poetry, and prose. And the second half of that book is the actual play that I've written called Writer's Cafe.
Writer's Cafe is being produced this fall, isn't it?
Yes, Writer's Cafe is being produced not far from here, as a matter of fact, in Nashville, North Carolina. This will be the 4th time this particular play has been produced since its inception, which is in 1993. And Writer's Cafe, quick synopsis, is it's a comedy about romance on the internet.
Look at do that little dance. What does that mean, Frank?
Well, Ernie.
At the time that I wrote it, not too many people even knew what the internet was. The way I got involved in theaters, kind of a funny story. I was taking a woodworking class. We had lived in the area about a year. I had never had experience in theater, but there was a few people who were in the class who were going to audition for a play at the community college, and they talked me into coming along, which I did, and I found out after getting the part that I enjoyed it so much. I've been involved in theater ever since. It's really been a big part of my life. I've got to meet a lot of really fine people through it, and it's influenced my writing. Of course, it's influenced the plays that I've written. It gave me an inside track on writing plays.
Well, what got me interested in seeing this play produced is the fact that it was such a well-written, very tight script that is funny, warm, and actually even has a moral to it. And I had read some of Steve's work in the past, but had never read Writer's Cafe until this past summer. And on one read-through, I said, well, this is a show that's got to go up. Steve's got great command of words, and I think an audience is going to be intrigued. They're going to enjoy the comedy, and they're also going to go home feeling very warm because there's a lot of wonderful, warm things that happen in the story.
It's probably one of the best written plays I have read in a long time. that deals with modern subjects. And what I mean by that more than anything else is that it seems real, as if it actually, as something that could actually have happened. My wife tells me that the chat rooms that she was in way a long time ago, or the writing in this is so right on, and it's perfect. He's got away with words.
The case itself is cedar and dogwood, a strip of dogwood here. This is my favorite flute, and of the 500 of them I've made, this is the only one that I've kept. I call it number 50 because it was the 50th flute. And this particular flute, the top of it is local cedar, and the bottom of it is a piece of Macassar ebony from South America. And it has a really unique sound. It sounds very much like a clarinet as far as tonality. We had gone out to the Grand Canyon about 7 years ago, and while we were in Arizona I saw a fellow who made flutes, and it intrigued me. The sound of it intrigued me, and when I got back home I started piddling around in my small workshop and started making flutes. Took me a while to get the hang of it, but I've made over 500 of them so far. And then that led into working with woods of all types. Mostly I like to use wood that I find laying on the ground that's just sort of going to waste, and try to turn them into something beautiful. Every now and then I'll buy a piece of exotic wood, something like cocobolo or ebony, something of that sort, oyster rosa, and work them into my woods. I may also make these, what is called an African slit drum, and I like to use the local walnuts and so forth, and African bloodwood, which is actually an imported hardwood. So the top of that is African bloodwood, and the rest of the box is red oak from right here in North Carolina, in eastern North Carolina, right here from the Leggett area. Then you know, we'll bring in logs that we find out in the woods, and I bought a sawmill, and now I cut my own lumber, and we've actually even built a stage out in the woods with it, where we have musicians come and throw little parties and have some really unique parties out in the woods.
Are we sparkling?